You know how sometimes a book just finds you? It feels like it wasn't an accident, but that it showed up at the exact moment you needed it, almost like a map for your own inner world. Well, today we're talking about two master mapmakers of the human soul, the novelist Hermann Hesse and the psychologist Carl Jung. They basically gave us a kind of alchemy for the soul, a way to transform our inner landscape. So let's take a look at their map.
Nothing ever happens by chance. Those are the words Hermann Hesse said to the writer Miguel Serrano way back in 1961. It's this idea of a destined meeting, of being invited into a special, secret circle of knowledge. And it really sets the stage for our whole journey today. It kind of suggests that if you're here listening to this, maybe you were meant to be here too.
So our story really kicks off with the discovery, as these things often do. We're going to follow the path of author Miguel Serrano, who back in 1945 stumbled upon a book that would completely change his life, Hermann Hesse's novel, Demian.
And look, this wasn't just some casual reading for him. He said the experience gave him a strength he had never felt before. After he finished it, he would just wander the streets feeling like a totally new person, like he was carrying some secret message. It's the classic call to adventure, right? But the adventure wasn't in some far-off land. It was all happening inside of him.
So what is this inner adventure? To really get it, we need a powerful metaphor, one that both Hesse and Jung were totally fascinated by, the ancient practice of alchemy. But we're not talking about turning lead into actual physical gold. Nope, we're talking about transforming the mind itself.
Mental alchemy is this deliberate, conscious process of refining yourself. It's the art of taking all the heavy, confusing, lead-like parts of our own minds, our doubts, our fears, our messy thought patterns, and through focused work, turning them into the shining gold of self-awareness and real understanding.
And what's so cool is that for Hesse, these ideas went way beyond just writing. He wasn't only writing about transformation, he was also a pretty amazing painter who explored it visually. His art, like this piece right here for his story about metamorphosis, is just filled with these powerful symbols of change, growth, and becoming.
Now, every great quest needs a guide. And as Serrano found out from Hesse's work, the very first and maybe the most important part of this whole mental journey is figuring out who or, what that guide really is.
In the book, Demian seems like this separate person, a really cool, wise friend who's showing the main character, Sinclair, the way. But here's the big reveal. Demian isn't separate from Sinclair at all. He is Sinclair's own deepest self. The guide that we're all searching for isn't somewhere out there. It's already inside us, just waiting for us to listen.
And this idea of an inner world connects to another key tension that Hesse was always exploring, this fundamental duality that exists inside all of us. He uses characters like Narcissus, the quiet, contemplative thinker, and Goldmund, the man of action who wanders the world, to represent these two poles. We're all a bit of both, right? Torn between thinking and doing, being and becoming. The real alchemical work is learning how to hold both of those things at once.
So, once we find that inner guide and start to recognize our own dualities, the next big challenge pops up. We have to confront both the light and the dark parts of ourselves, the good and the evil.
In a lot of Western stories, we're taught to see good and evil as this huge battle to be won. We're supposed to chase the light and destroy the shadow. But trying to split ourselves like that can lead to what Serrano called disintegration. In contrast, a lot of Eastern thought has a different take. Light and shadow, good and evil, they're two sides of the same coin. They're both essential parts of a complete whole. And Hesse gave this integrated whole a powerful, ancient name, Abraxas. This Gnostic deity wasn't just good or evil. He represented the unification of all opposites. He is both God and devil, light and shadow. So to embrace Abraxas means you stop running from your darker side and instead you integrate it. You become a complete whole person.
Okay, so we've got this incredible literary map from Hesse. It shows a quest for the self and the need to integrate all our inner dualities. But where does this map actually lead? And is any of it, legitimate? This is where our second alchemist, Carl Jung, steps onto the scene.
So let's just pause for a second and look at this map Hesse has drawn. It all kicks off with a search for our essential self. The path requires an inner guide and a real willingness to bring together all our conflicting parts, our light and our shadow, our need to think and our urge to act. And, this is key, it's a journey that lasts our entire life. And this brings us to a really critical connection. Is this whole literary journey just a beautiful fantasy, or does it point to something real? Well, as this quote suggests, the most grounded, legitimate version of this mental alchemy is actually found in psychology, specifically in the work of Carl Jung. So this isn't just a novelist's dream, it has a real psychological backbone.
And there it is, the scientific name for this whole journey. Jung called it individuation. It's the process of becoming an individual, as in undivided, whole. It is the lifelong work of integrating everything you are, the conscious parts, the unconscious parts, the light, the shadow, to become your truest, most complete self. Hesse was describing individuation just through stories.
But, and this is a big but, this isn't a one-and-done thing. You don't just achieve individuation and then poof, you're done. In his novel Siddhartha, Hesse gives us the perfect symbol for this, a river. The river is always flowing, always changing, but it's always the same river. Sound familiar? Just like us. This journey of becoming whole is a continuous cycle we're a part of for our entire lives.
Okay, we've followed this map all the way from Hesse's fiction to Jung's psychology. So now, let's bring it all back to where it really matters. Let's bring it back to you.
The original alchemists didn't just call their quest a project or an experiment. They called it the magnum opus, the great work. And that's exactly what this is. The journey of self-discovery, of becoming whole. It's probably the most important work any of us will ever get to do.
So here it is, the path, laid out for us by these alchemists of the soul. First, there's the call, something that wakes you up. Then you learn to find the guide within yourself. After that, you begin the work of confronting and integrating all your different parts. And finally, you realize the goal isn't some static piece of gold, but the dynamic, lifelong process of becoming whole.
The writings of Hermann Hesse and Carl Jung, they aren't just books or theories. They're maps. They show us a path that is as ancient as it is deeply personal. So the final question isn't really about them, it's about you. If you look at this map of the soul, where do you see yourself right now?